Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create an application in which you can upload files using Node.js. I'm going to use a small framework called express-fileupload, which is based on Express, and we are going to be using that to enable us to upload files to the server. And of course we are going to save the files to the location of our choice. So for that we need to start an application. I have already created a folder called Node file upload. It's empty, there is nothing there, so we can start now by initializing a project. I'm going to use yarn for this, but feel free to use npm. Okay, so I'm going to yarn init and I'm going to say yes to everything, to all the parameters, and that will create us a package.json file. We are going to create an index.js file, and for that we will just say index.js. And before we do anything we have to import Express and Express file upload. So for that we say yarn add Express, and after that yarn add Express file upload. Okay, so now we have the needed libraries installed. We can start now by requiring the libraries. So Express is require Express, and I'll call it what? Express file upload, and that is require Express file upload. And we are going to create an application, an Express application of course, which is by calling Express as a function that will return an instance of an application. Now we have to say to Node that we are going to use the Express file upload as a middleware. So we are going to say use Express file upload, and that should be a function. A middleware is a function. Now there is one thing that we are going to use as well, and that is static folders. I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to call it public, and that folder will contain our index.html5. So you have actually a full stack application that will send you the needed HTML file once you call the URL. So I'm going to create a file here, and I'm going to create the HTML, and I'm going to use emmet to create a scaffold. For the title I'm going to say just whatever you want, so let's say file upload using Node.js. Okay, and I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to give this div an ID, for example container. We are not going to use much of that, but only a basic HTML. And inside that div I'm going to create a form. So the form will actually contain whatever user interface elements that we are going to use for the uploading the file. In this case, I'm going to use a very simple label and one input for the file name and one button to submit the file. So I'm going to say first input, and the type of the input will be file, and the ID, this is important, this is very important. You can give it an ID, of course, and I'm going to say upload file, but the most important thing is the name here. The name is the way the express-upload library will identify the file. So I'm going to say upload file as well. It doesn't matter. I should give it a style, but I'm going to come back for that. So we have defined an input of type file, and we have given that an ID and a name, and the name is upload file. I'm going to create a button, and I'm going to say the type of the button is submit. The name of the button is submit as well, and I'm going to say the value of the button is upload, and I'm going to add a label here, and that label will go for upload file, and it, well, I don't know, let's say select a file, for example. Okay, so that should be enough. Okay, so the action is I'm going now to specify the location in the server, the route where I'm going to send this form data, and that will be to upload. Okay, actually /upload. So this is the location where the server, the application server they are going to create will process the request. And the method, we need to specify whether we are sending a post or get or another type of request. And I'm going to say I'm going to post. What else? The post, the upload location. Oh yes, the encryption type is going to be multi-part form data. This is very important. So the application knows, so the client knows how to handle the files to be uploaded. Okay, so I think this is enough for this moment. We'll come back for that. We'll come when we are going to add some styling. So in the server part, we are going to say what? We are going to say that we are going to use the static folder, which is the public folder that we have created. And that is, we need to say to Express that we are going to use some static folder, and we have to supply the name of the folder. So in our case, it's public. Okay. Now we need to define the port of the application, and usually we either take the port that is set in the environment variables. If there is no port set in the environment variables, then we choose someone of our choice, of our likings. So we take a look at the process instance, and we check the environment, and we see if there is a port identified or not. If there is a port identified, it will take it. If there is not, then we'll say specify port 5000 or 3000 or whatever Usually the standard for Node applications are 5,000 or 3,000. Okay, so what else? Okay, so now I'm going to specify the requests. I'm going to process a post request, and that post request will be directed to /upload. And of course we are going to use a callback, and that callback is going to receive a request and a response. And in this function, we are going to check whether there is a file or not. If there is a file, so let's check whether in the request if there is a files property or not. This is the property that will be containing the data for our file or files. It's actually an array. If you have a multiple files uploaded, then you will check each part of that array. So in that case, you will say for file in files do something. Okay, but I'm going to upload only one file for this, so you can understand the principle. Otherwise, if the files object is set, but if there is no data, and this is how I'm going to check that. So if the request files, if there is no keys there, which means the length will be 0. Okay, in that case, I'm going to send through the response the status of 400, which means we don't have the resource that you have been asking for. So send no files were found. Actually, it's not found, it's uploaded. Okay, so this is in case we have some errors, and if we pass this, that means we have something to handle, we have some files. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it, let's call it, I don't know, uploaded file, which is request files, and here I'm going to supply the name that I have specified here, this one. Okay, so if you have, for example, multiple inputs fields, and you name, for example, upload file 1 and the other one name upload file 3, etc., then each time you want to handle the file, you need to specify this. So upload file 1, 2, 3, however it depends on how much you have files being sent. So in this case, I'm receiving only one file, and the object that contains that file is called uploaded file. So in this case, the uploaded file has a function, and that function is move. This is part of the express-fileupload library, and you can specify the folder where you want to store the upcoming file. So this is very handy because you don't need to write a function for that for yourself. You have this already done. Okay, and it takes a path string, and it takes a callback in case you have any errors or something to handle. So I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to call it incoming, and this will be the folder where I'm going to store the files that I am receiving. In case your application has other specifications, let's say you're receiving data from multiple users, then it probably has sense to create a directory for each user independently, and to name the directory by the name of the user that is uploading the files. But in our case, we have only one file, one folder, and we have only one user. So I'm going to just specify that the folder. So I'm going to be using the backticks here. So I'm saying I'm going to incoming, and inside incoming I'm going to store the name of the file, which is uploaded file, and it has a property called name. Okay, so that property is the name of the file. There is also other properties like size, for example, the size of the file, and other the functionality, but for this tutorial it's very sufficient to use just the name. And in case we have any errors, so I'm going to use a callback, and I'm going to check if there is something. So I'm going to output this error in the console, and I'm going to send at the same time something to the user. So response, send them status of something, let's say 500, like a bad request or something. Okay, so that should be it. And okay, yeah, okay. So now, which means if we pass all this, then we are successful. We have data, and we need to store now that data. We already stored that data. There are no errors, and in this case, I'm going to say to the user, to the client, that the file that you have sent, which is request files uploaded file and name, was uploaded successfully. Okay. All right. So that is basically it. We now need to just create the server itself to make it listen to the port. So we say listen, and we tell the application to listen on a port, which is the one that we have specified, and we specify also the IP address of the server. In this case, you can say either localhost, or I usually like to say 127.0.0.1, which is kind of more standard. And you can supply a callback to tell something. Like in this case, I'm going to tell myself, for example, if there is a user administrator or server administrator that is checking the application, you can tell the admin something like that. You can send him a message like I don't know, server is, for example, listening on port, and you can say port. Okay. Yeah, I guess this is it. Let's check if we can run this. Oops, there is an error. Yeah, of course there is an error. So you need to spell stuff correctly. Okay, server is listening on port. So I'm going to make this kinda readable. Okay, so I'm going to check if we have localhost 500. Okay, so I've sent a request to the root location, which is /, and the server responded with the index file that I have created with this. The server responded with this, okay, which is located in the public folder. Okay, so now I can upload some files. Let me just add some styling just to make it a bit more I will add something like Bootstrap or something. So if I go to index.html and put like this, so I'm adding Bootstrap here. Okay, and let me check get bootstrap. Like for example, in this case I'm going to style, I don't know, let's say documentation, components. So first I'm going to let's style the input class equals button primary. It's this. Okay, so you have this one. So the class is button primary, and the submit one is actually the same. So I'm going to just copy this and put it here, and let me check, see what happens. Okay, all right. So now I can try to upload some files. I will select a file, for example this one. I have it selected here, and if I press the upload button, then I should see the file being transferred into the incoming folder. So let's see what happened. Okay, so I have the file here and it says the file was uploaded successfully. If I go and see this file, so you see, let me upload another file. So if I go back to this, I click the choose file and let me, I don't know, let's see this wasp, for example. And if I press the upload button, as you can see, I have the file here. Okay. So let's do one more time. Let's choose, I don't know, this one, Batman. If I press upload, okay, and I see the file being transferred here. Okay, so here you have it. You have basically achieved a lot in a very simple tutorial. You can now create whatever you want. You can upload all the data that you need from the client side, and you can store that data either on files or in databases. Depends on your application. And that concludes the tutorial for this one. I hope you have enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe and share, and leave any comments in the comment section. See you the next time.